This is Diana of Tantra Butterfly, and yesterday I spent a wonderful day in the city with my beautiful service dog, Mr. Troika. We took the metro train all the way from Northbrook into Union Station in Chicago. And while I was walking everywhere, I ran into this gorgeous Asian woman that just simply lacked skin pigment, and she has albinism. And to be blunt with you here, when I was a young kid, one of my neighbors had albinism, and I really didn't understand what the word meant. All I knew is she was very sensitive to the sun, and her skin was pure white. Like, I'll show you how white. As white as that plate. Anyway, and she had beautiful, silky, long, thick, lush white hair. She was my neighbor. And I was very shy when I was a kid. I didn't really introduce myself to anybody. And I was, because of my shyness, I was bullied a lot. Well, now I'm the opposite of shy. I'm an extrovert and I talk a lot. And I'm not embarrassed to defend myself if confronted. And anyway, so to make a long story short, I accidentally hurt this woman's feelings. I was shocked with how beautiful she was. She's Asian, extremely light skinned, and her hair was kind of like a very whitish, yellowish blonde. And I could tell that she had a vision problem because she was wearing specialized darker glasses. And I said, wow, are you albino? And she was instantly correcting me. And she said, you just called me a racial slur. And I immediately apologized. And I said, I'm truly sorry you took it that way, but I admire people with albinism. And I said, if I could trade bodies with you, that's the way I would want to look. I would love to lack pigment. I'm kind of like a heavily pigmented kind of person. And when I go out in the sun, I rarely, if ever, burn, which is a bonus. I do sometimes use sunscreen. Most of the time, I forget to wear sunscreen. And so, when I was an English major, I romanticized the Victorian era, where women would carry parasols and protect their skin from the sun, and they were described as being lily white and fragile and very pale. And so it was often, thank you. It was often romanticized in Victorian era literature about having a very pale white complexion. And I said, to be honest with you, I think you're gorgeous. I never meant for my comment to be insulting. And I told her the story about how maybe when I was visiting New York once about 10 or 12 years ago, I ran into this gorgeous woman who also had albinism, and she had a really cute little bob, mini bangs, and her eyes looked pinkish red, and she had very pale white skin. Her hair was snowy white, and she had a camera wrapped around her front. And I told her, oh my God, are you like a professional model? You're so beautiful. You're so, for me, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like running into a unicorn. And if I came across as being offensive, when I ask someone if they're albino, I don't mean it as an insult. And I didn't realize that some people with albinism consider it to be a racial slur. Now, if this woman felt self-conscious because I put her on the spot and she was with either a boyfriend or a very good friend, maybe, she felt like, oh my God, I'm categorizing her and not seeing her as a human being with feelings. But I guess, maybe if somebody came up to me, randomly and said, oh my God, are you Jewish? You totally look Jewish, yada, yada, yada. But I wouldn't feel ashamed of somebody categorizing me that way because I am Jewish, I'm spiritual, but I don't practice any particular faith, to be honest with you. I'm spiritual, but I am not religious. So I wouldn't see it as a slur. And I didn't realize that somebody who has this condition, lacking pigmentation, would be hyper self conscious about it or see it as a slur. So I repeated to her that a while back I ran across this woman and turned out to be a professional photographer and not a model. But this woman had beautiful snowy white skin. Her skin texture looked unreal. So, it's hard to explain unless you've met someone with this condition, this lack of melanin. And they have even snow white eyelashes. Everything is perfectly white, including their eyebrows. So anyway, that was my chit chat for today. And the next time I run into someone that I admire and I'm in awe of with albinism, instead of me saying, "Are you an albino?" I'll say, "God, you look gorgeous. Just, have a wonderful day." And that's all I'm going to say from this point moving forward, because even I can admit that maybe I've made it a mistake in pointing out somebody's personal medical condition, and they might not be aware that I admire them for that. They might not automatically acknowledge the fact that I think it's beautiful and cool and unique and kind of like fantasy, like you're looking at a unicorn in real life. Okay, so end of chat, and I'm signing off.